The time has come to talk about MMAI AI. For those that don't know, MMAI AI is a token that launched on September 6th of 2022 after it raised a pre-sale totaling around 1,000 ETH. MMAI AI has made some huge promises to its investors and hasn't really released too much to date. They've promised the MMAI Pure World, which is essentially their very realistic advanced metaverse. They've promised the MMAI Pure Wallet, which they're claiming to be the world's first and only cryptocurrency wallet that allows you to do offline peer-to-peer payment transactions. This is available to be downloaded in beta on the Google Play Store today. They've launched and sold NFTs, which essentially allows you to buy and own real estate in their metaverse and gives tokens, companies, influencers, and anyone else the ability to advertise in their metaverse. You can see that they have stores, standing advertisements, building displays and billboards, and even arenas. They're also developing a high-octane military shooter game that can be played within the Pure World. And on top of that, they have their token, which we'll talk about in just a second. Now, before we get into this video and discuss some of the topics that we've had questions on, which include 2 large liquidity pool sales from the developer with no announcements or warning to the community, I'd like to bring in my co-host, Rodney Sorensen. Rodney, how are we doing today?
What up, Jake, baby? I'm doing well, man. Just excited to get into this MMAI AI debacle with you, man. How about yourself?
Now, Rodney, before we get into this video, I think it is important to say something. Earlier this year, you and I both partnered with MMAI. We did some marketing promotions for them. We did tweets, we made videos, and we held a Twitter space before their NFT launch.
Yeah, of course. And we're pretty clear about how we disclose any sort of paid promotion with hashtag ad or just letting the audience know that we're being paid to promote something. But this was before these 2 large liquidity pools, which is kind of concerning and extremely important.
It is important. And when you look at the project, it does look pretty badass. Now look, the development team could really be developing everything they're talking about, and I hope that they do. This is a very cool project. It's a strong community, and if they execute on what they say they're delivering, this project has huge potential. But let's take a look at those 2 liquidity pool sales from the development team, because it hasn't really sat well with a lot of community members. So first off, the token's sitting at an $815,000 market cap, and it's obviously down quite a bit since its pre-sale launch. Now there are 2 liquidity pools that we need to talk about. The first one happened on March 7th, 2023. It was for 488 Ethereum, pulled from the liquidity, and it's now worth over $1 million. Back in March, Ethereum was $1,561, so that pull was worth $763 at the time. The second unannounced liquidity pull happened earlier this month on November 6th, and it caused a lot of commotion in the MMAI community. It even caused one of the top influencers, Austin, to walk away from the project. You can see this happened 9 days, 17 hours ago. It was for 81 Ethereum, which is now worth $167,000, and on November 6th, it was worth $155,000. So at the time of selling, the MMAI team removed $918,050 from the liquidity. So Rodney, let me ask you, when you hear that a developer removes $918,000 from the liquidity pool without announcing it to the community, what are your honest thoughts?
Look, the truth is, in this space, trust is at an all-time low. And so when you're pulling out massive amounts of liquidity for project development without presenting any real-world use case to date, I mean, this project's been out for more than a year, it's very concerning. Yes, bigger projects like the Ethereum Foundation do pull out liquidity to pay for things. We know that. But it's a small percentage of the available liquidity that they have. And of course, Ethereum is the big daddy of the space. They have all sorts of use case. So when a small cap project does that and they don't disclose it to the community, I mean, it rightfully raises a bunch of red flags.
You're right, and I totally agree with you. Look, I always say 2 things in the DeFi space. 1, you have to give developers time to build, and 2, developers do need to use revenue from the token in order to actually develop and fund the project. But pulling $918,000 unannounced should raise some red flags from its investors, especially when the token is down this much from the pre-sale price. Now, I popped in some of their most recent Twitter spaces, and the main developer, Augie, says that this money is being used for developing the project. If so, that's fine. But the cause for concern for me is not announcing that he's pulling liquidity, because obviously this hurts the charts, it hurts the investors, it causes FUD in the community, and personally, I would like to see him posting some of the receipts of him paying other developers or other companies to work on the project online, on X, so it would stop some of the FUD. Like I said, I have no problem with the developer selling some tokens or using funds if they're actually putting it back into the project, but there was a sale for $918,000, and as of now, we have no proof that it's going back into into the project. And we understand that the SEC is cracking down on developers for pulling liquidity, as we saw what happened to the SafeMoon devs earlier this month. You can see that SafeMoon's CEO and CTO were arrested after they were accused of withdrawing more than $200 million from funds that they told investors were locked, according to the DOJ and the regulator. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure if it's illegal or not to pull funds from the liquidity, but when investors think it's safe and locked, you're definitely not allowed to do that, and the SafeMoon devs proved it. Now, Rodney, a lot of people are calling MMAI a scam. For me personally, I think it's too early to do so because the development team could still be building. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's way too early to call this project a scam. I think it's way too early. But the SafeMoon situation's interesting, right? Because the developers told people that they weren't touching the liquidity at all, which MetaMonkey hasn't really said anything about that to the community. But the entire time, the SafeMoon devs were actually stealing the liquidity. Of course, they got in trouble for that, and they're probably going to go to jail for a long time. But I do think that it's way too early to call this project a scam, and we should probably give them the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you, Rodney. So a lot of people in the MMAI community asked me to make a video on this, and I would like to give credit to Faltron, Skywalker, and Not Pious for gathering a lot of this information. I'm rooting for MMAI. I own an NFT, and I hope that the dev team is using this money to fund the project. Development takes time, and let's be honest, there wasn't much going on in the bear market anyways. But now that the bull market is approaching, I hope that we see some updates from the MMAI team, and we start seeing some of these utilities go live. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Make sure to retweet it and share it on X. Follow me and Rodney on X, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.